Hey there, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. I'm going to be building a quail hutch in this video. It'll probably take me several days to do it. I don't have a whole day that I can devote to building it, so I'm going to get started on it today and then piece it together and film the whole thing for you. And I'll be incorporating some things that I learned from my prototype build of my other quail hutch and give you kind of a rundown on how those things go. So, let me quit babbling here. We'll get right into building it. So I got a whole pile of scrap lumber here behind me from somebody tore down a fence and gave me all the scrap lumber. And I've got enough of these 2x6 boards here that I can make these into the legs of the hutch. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to cut them off at 6 feet in the front, and then I'm just going to do 2 inches shorter for the back. It's going to be a 6 foot long hutch, so I'm going to put 3 legs down each side. So I need 6 of these, 3 at 6 feet, and then 3 at 2 inches under 6 feet. So what's that, 5 foot 10 inches. So let me get these cut real quick and then we'll move on from there. I think I'm going to build the main cage part itself out of 2x4s instead of these bigger boards, make it a little bit lighter. It doesn't need to be that sturdy, it's just for quail. So I'm going to start off by cutting a couple of boards at 3 feet, and these will be the width of the cage, so they'll tie the legs forward and backwards together. So it's going to be 3 feet wide cage, so I'm just going to cut a couple of 2x4s at 3 feet. Alright, got all the side pieces cut out, so I think it's time to start putting some of this stuff together. Let me go switch out my battery, get a drill and some screws, and we'll get to town on it. Okay, got the next board already set out here, and what I did is I measured up from the bottom of this board 18 inches, and then that's going to be the top of this board. And what that's going to do is allow me, this is going to be the bottom of my cage, this will be the top of my cage, so it's only an 18-inch tall cage. That prevents them from getting spooked, flying up too high, and breaking their necks on the top of the cage. You want to keep it short. Or really, really tall. I don't want to go really, really tall. There's a lot of expense in there. They're a ground-dwelling bird anyway, so they don't need a whole lot of height. So, same process. I'm just going to kind of square this up on this side to my mark. I'm going to put 1 screw in it, square up the other side, put 1 screw in it, and go back and tighten it up. So I got one side of the hutch built. I got 3 more to go, so I better get on it before I run out of shade over here. Alright, got my sides built. I need to tie them together. I'll need some 6-foot boards for that. I think I got to tear apart a couple of pallets for that. I don't think I have any suitable for that in this pile, but I'll look around and figure it out. But I'm losing my shade, the sun's coming out, and it's my granddaughter's birthday party today, so I'm going to call it quits for today. I'll pick this back up later, and I'll pick back up the filming when I get to building the rest of it. So stick around. Well, it's been several days since I got to work on this thing, but I got a couple hours after work here, and looks like I got a storm coming in, but I think I can get a little bit done. I did manage to get a couple 2x4s, tore that pallet apart and got a couple 2x4s out of it. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting those to length 6 feet, start tying these legs, the stands together. So that's what I'm working on right now. We'll see how far I can get before I run out of daylight or get stormed on. It's starting to come together here. I got this rail on the front, that rail on the back there. I'm going to take a break right here. Probably all I'll get done for tonight because I'm running out of daylight and storm moving in, and I got to cut some more wood. I got to find some better pieces because the last 2 pieces of that 2x4 out of there were pretty rough. I'm not so sure I'm going to put 2x4s down here. I got to think about this a little bit. So let me figure it all out, what I want to do for the bottom of the cage, and I'll come back and get back on film when I figure it out. Alright, well, I had a camera issue, thought I was filming and I wasn't, and I got a few things done, so I missed filming that part of it, but I think it's still at a point where you can kind of figure out what's going on. So I got the top boards on. I went ahead and put some bottom boards across here, and these are just some, let's see, what are they, 1x4s that I had in the garage for another project, and I thought, well, heck, that'll work, because I was running out of good 2x4 material. So I went ahead and slapped those on to make those the front and the back. Let me get you in close and I'll show you what I've done on the inside walls here. Well, hopefully you can see what's going on here on the inside walls. This portion right here on over is going to be enclosed, going to be the closed in portion of it. And all I did was just take some OSB board, excuse me, and I just cut it to size to fit in there and screwed it in. And I did that on this side and this side. Now right here I'm getting ready to cut this piece. I've already cut it to size. I'm cutting out the door. And let me get over to this side. That's going to be, this is all going to be blocked in. It's going to have a door right over here in this corner. And that's one thing I learned from my last hutch build, is that I put the door here about in the middle. Well, what happens is whenever I am working over in this area of the cage, the quail all huddle back in that corner and they feel trapped because they can't get out the door. It's over here. So hopefully that makes sense. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the door back to this section right here. So it would be just a cutout opening right there for them to get between each section of the cage. The wire is going to run underneath that 2x4, so that 2x4 is going to stick up inside the cage, but that's not going to be a problem. They don't mind hopping up on top of it, and it'll give them actually a little bit of extra windbreak. So you'll see what I mean whenever I get this all put together. So let's get back to getting some things cut out, and we'll get to building again. All right, so I've already cut this piece to fit. This is going to be the wall between the two sides of the cage. I kind of did a rough drawing here of the door. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I just made it about, oh, I forgot now, let me measure. I gave myself about 3 inches from the edge, so I'd have enough to kind of give some bracing over here on the side. Starts the door, and then what I give myself, a 5-inch door? Yeah, 5-inch door, 10 inches tall, 3 inches of that's going to be taken up by that 2x4. So all I'm going to do is just use a jigsaw here and cut this out. So let me get that done. All right. That pretty much does it. So now all I got to do is go bolt this up inside the cage here. All right. I think that'll work. If you can see that from here, here's the door that's going to be between the two sides. Like I said, they'll have to kind of hop up over these this 2x4 here, but I don't think that'll be a problem. I think they'll be able to get back in here, and if, you know, during the winter time there's snow or wind or whatever, this will give them a little extra wind block. So didn't plan this out very well originally. I kind of didn't think about it until I got it about to this stage, and then I thought, oh well, not going to be a problem. So I may end up coming out here and carving this door out a little bit more, but I think that's plenty of room for them to get through either side. So move on to the next step. We're going to start building some doors here pretty soon. Okay, to put the doors together, I've just cut these at a 45-degree angle each, and I'm going to piece them together like this. What I do is I set one down and make sure it's squared up, and then I'll clamp it down on both sides. I'm going to pre-drill my holes for these little brackets that are going to hold the doors together. And then I'll just move around and get the other 3 corners done the same way. Alright, so this is the door that's going to be on the side that's blocked in. So I cut a piece of OSB board here just to fit on the inside of this and to frame that in with. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw that down onto the door itself. Alright, so got my doors built. Got to put on a couple more post uprights to mount my joists on, or my rafters on, because the sheet metal I have is not wide enough to go between these 2 posts. So I'm going to set another one here, and then I'll start getting rafters built for it. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just cut off some 2x4s to use for rafters to mount my sheet metal onto the roof with. These are pretty rough because they're scavenged boards. You can see, hopefully you can see that. Pretty rough, but they've got two good solid sides, one here, one on top, and that's really all I need. And after all, it's just a quail hutch, it's not my home, so it'll be fine for my application. So I'm going to go ahead and go put these on real quick. So I got the rafters on. Not much to do to that really. I just mounted them up to the front, gave them a 6-inch overhang on each side, mounted one bolt to the front, lined it up in the back, mounted a bolt to the back, and then screwed it on there. So pretty simple really. I did try to put the rough side to the outside, so I've had a nice smooth edge to mount to the joists here, the posts, and a nice smooth edge on top to mount my sheet metal too whenever I go to mount the roof on there. So really I'm kind of at the point now where I need to paint, but it's, probably can't tell on video, but it's all rainy and just humid as can be here, just, you know, water dripping off everything. So I'm going to have to wait a day or two until things dry out before I can paint it. So project's on hold for a couple of days, and of course you won't know the difference because you're watching it on video. So, but I'll get back to it whenever it dries out just a little bit. We're almost done. All right, so managed to get it painted. Had a couple days without rain. That was good. Got put 2 coats on there. Very important reason why I chose the color that I chose, because it was the only one I had in the garage or the shed actually that was an exterior paint. So that's really the only reason I chose that color. You can use whatever color you want, just make sure it's an exterior grade paint. This is a good paint and it'll seal it up and it should last for quite a while. So hard part's done. Now we're going to move on to just finishing it up. I'm going to start off by putting the hardware cloth on. I've got these rolls that are 3 feet by 10 feet. So 3 feet's good because my hutch is 3 feet wide. I won't have to cut it down the length of the wire. So when you build your hutch, you might want to measure it in 18 inches, 24 inches, 36 inches wide, because that's what hardware cloth rolls come in. So without talking about that anymore, we're just going to move on and start tacking up the hardware cloth. Alright, so my hardware cloth's not long enough to go all the way around it. It's 6 feet long, so 6 feet and 6 feet is 12 feet plus this. So I'm going to start right here on the side, make one continuous wrap all the way around the bottom, and then I'll do another one from here all the way across the top. So that should work out pretty well. One thing, when you're putting your hardware cloth, at least on the bottom, it's got a natural bend to it. You want to put that bow on the inside of the cage, because if it's on the bottom and it's bowing up, whenever you put weight on it, it's just going to level out. If you put it where it's bowing down naturally, it's going to start sagging in the middle, and you're going to have things roll into the middle of the cage floor and all that kind of stuff. So it's just important to kind of do that way. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this up here, all about right there, line it up with this side. It's 3 feet wide, so is my hutch, so I'm just going to line it up with this side, put a staple on this side, work my way across, staple it all the way up, and then start wrapping it all the way around. So now I'm using an air stapler or an air nailer, but you can use a hand stapler. It works just as well. All right, so what I'm going to do to make it around this 2x4 is just bend this wire over, kind of smack it with a hammer up in place, try to get it up there as tight as I can. All right, so I got the hardware cloth, started up there, rolled down, rolled over here. Now I need to go underneath this 2x4, and to make this turn right here, what I've done is I'm going to anyway, cut off these wires right across here. Let me get you in close here in a second and I'll show you. Just measured down the width of the board right here, cut them off down there so I can fold it over, fold it up inside and staple it on. Let me get you in close, maybe that'll make sense. Okay, hopefully you can see right here. All I did was just cut right here, all the way across, right there. And then I'm going to measure down 5.5 inches, and I'm going to cut all the way across so I can fold that in. I've already got this one done over here, and I'll show you how it looks. You can see what I've done is I've just cut it out of the side, right here, and folded it in. So I'm going to take this whole wire and shove it on through there, and that'll give me something to staple to on the inside of the cage. So let me get that done here real quick, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so got my hardware cloth on the outside and the underneath of the cage right here. I did make a mistake that I wanted to talk about real quick. You'll notice kind of a board sticking up maybe right there because I forgot. I measured 3 feet from the outside of this post right here to 3 feet on the outside of that post right there. So when I put the front braces on, they were further than 3 feet apart. My hardware cloth is only 3 feet wide. So I had to put something in there so I'd have something to staple the hardware cloth to. So if you're doing this, you might want to take that into consideration. Alright, so I managed to get the hardware cloth on yesterday and got a little bit of time after church before my next event I got to go to, so I got just a few minutes here. I'm going to try to get the roof on it real quick. What I'm using for that is just some old barn sheet metal that came off of an old shed tear down that somebody gave me for free. I'll be using these, get these up close so you can see them. These little screws have a little bit of a gasket on them, kind of made specifically for sheet metal to keep the leaks out of it. So nothing really unique about this. I just kind of lined it up, gave it about an inch overhang on the front, inch overhang on the back, about 3 inches on the side. Well, it's about 4 inches on the side that it's going to overhang. I'll put the first one up and then I'll just stack the other across as I go. So I've already got the first one setting up there. It's already setting where I need it to be, so now it's just a matter of climbing up there and bolting it down in place. Alright, well that just about does it for the roof. It's on there. Not looking the prettiest, but that's what you get when you work with salvage materials sometimes, but it's working. So I'm going to move on and get the doors on there, and then that'll be pretty much it. I'll be just about done with this thing. All right, well, got it all finished up. Had some issues with the video footage of putting the doors on. Wind noise was really bad, so I'm going to try to reshoot that closing there, and got the lavalier mic to hopefully help out with the audio just a little bit. It's done though. You can pretty much see what's going on. All I did to put the doors on is I just set them up on here, put a couple of screws in the hinges on each side and hinged it to it, and then put a couple barrel locks on it. So it's nothing really that you can't figure out just by looking at it. And I'll open this door here and you kind of see how it's a little bit tight. See how it works. So pretty simple. Okay, hopefully that gives you enough that you can kind of figure out how the rest of it's put together. A couple of things that, you know, if I was doing this differently or doing it again, I would do differently. I think I would put these posts right here on the outside instead of the inside. And what I mean by that, instead of bolting these boards here on the front of this post, I would have bolted them on the back of this post. That would have solved a couple of issues for me. One, I wouldn't have had to put the extra boards in here to staple hardware cloth to, because the inside boards would have been 3 feet apart. Hopefully that makes sense. So that would have been better. And also it would have been much easier to put the hardware cloth on. I wouldn't have had to snake around these posts here. The other thing, make sure that you put the hardware cloth on before you put your rafters on, because these rafters, and you probably can't see that in the video, well, there they are, way back there, go all the way across there, and it's hard to lay the hardware cloth down on top of there once those are in place, because you've got to work underneath them and work it sideways, and it's just a huge pain. Hardware cloth on top looks pretty sloppy to me, but it's done. It works for the Quail, and hopefully that gives you enough information that you can build your own if you want to. So, you know, thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.